you had said something about, rappers, and I think all of us can agree. I hated them, bodyguarding them guys, man. When I tell
I
you,
did.
and it wasn't so much the rappers themselves, it was always their entourage that act like a bunch of fools.
Yes.
Make sure to like and subscribe for more.
Yep.
And I remember the one of the last times, it wasn't one of the last times, but I was bodyguarding DMX. This was out in Washington, and it was his national tour. Him and I forgot the girl's name. What's the rapper's name? Anyway, it'll come to
Foxy
me.
Brown?
No, not Foxy Brown. I got it on the tip of my tongue. It doesn't matter. Okay. But anyway, and I was bodyguarding him there, and I remember talking to him and saying, "Dude, you want me to continue to work with you, man? You got to get rid of these chumps that's around you." I said, because they don't want, they're sniffing coke, they're drinking, they're acting a fool, and you would think that they were the people that people came to see. And Tupac, same thing. I had to pull him to the side. One of the last conversations I had with Tupac, like 2 weeks before he died, was when he wanted me to work with him. I said, I can't do it, man. I said, it ain't so much you. I said, it's the people that you're around, man, that get you guys in trouble. And I can go on down the line with a few of them. And, and I want to get your guys' opinion on how you felt, especially you, Grandmaster Bahiy. Because this is your night, man. So I don't want to out-talk you. But when you said that,
I want you to. I'm learning.
Yeah,
no, I'm still learning. Absolutely. Are we allowed to call certain names that we had problems with? The people that we had problems with.
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not. They'll put our name out there, so let's shout them out.
Okay, let me say this. I was working for Bad Boy in Atlanta, Bad Boy Weekend. And I was designated to bodyguard Black Rob. Does anybody know who Black Rob is?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes, I know who Black Rob is.
Yep.
And his song was like #1 at the time. Like, whoa, But this guy was something unusual. I have known people that have. Now he respected me. Don't get me wrong. He respected me, but me being with him. And him being who he is, he just couldn't help himself. This is the type of guy that I'm taking him to his room, for instance. I'm taking him out of his room. As he's going to his room, there's a room door that's cracked open. And this guy goes in this woman's room and in her purse. And I'm like, man, look, I don't want to go to jail, man. You understand? For this type of, and that's the way he was all the time. He would run in people's room, and I said, but he did end up going to jail. You know what I'm saying? 2 nights later, he did end up going to jail and he was on probation. But Black Roberts type of guy, when they was the rappers, or Bad Boy rappers was sitting down saying, we want to have a business discussion. He wasn't about business. He was sitting there saying like, oh, you niggas always talking about robbing people. Look, I do that. I do that for real. I sang this and I do this in my song, but I do this for real. And I was shocked.
Wow.
That he doesn't want to talk, that he doesn't want to sit down and talk business. You understand? Money, he wants, you understand, to tell these guys that's talking business that look, your songs, you a shit because you do not do what you say you do in your song. I do exactly what I say in my song. I rob people. In that night at a particular club, in Atlanta, many times you have the police officers or the security.
Right. And in other states.
So he has this big booty girl that he's running behind, he's wide open, and she didn't want to be with him. So at the end, man, he got upset, and the officer told him, look, man, you got to quieten that down and so forth. And he didn't want to quiet down, and I couldn't make him quiet down, you understand? And they snatched him up. They snatched him up and took him to jail. And he was on probation. So I was like, I don't think he's gonna get out because he's on probation.
Wow.
But there was some strings pulled, I guess, because I saw him like 2 nights later, and then he came and he apologized to me for putting me in that situation. But they put me with another clown. This one by the name of what do you call him, Shine or Shane or whatever one.
Shine.
Shine.
Yeah.
Shine.
Yeah. Well, he's much younger, and he's got a chip on his shoulder with the police. So the police go to search him. He hits the police on the hand with they had that was a phone at the time called a two-way, something like that.
Right.
I never had one. Pager, okay.
The two-way SkyTel pager, yeah.
Right. And he hit the cop on the hand. They was about to snatch him up, but I had to go and try to be so humble and tell him, look, man, he's and for real, he had to perform that night. But I also had to tell him, man, look, brother, you can't be doing this, man. You're gonna send everybody to jail. But you go for hitting the police officer, brother, you're gonna go to jail for some time. But he didn't mind that, man. But that's why I don't like, to mess with, rappers. Like I said, the only rappers that I love, 8Ball, MJG. They call me today, I'll be out there with them, man. Because they didn't get down like that. They wasn't rowdy. They smoked their weed. Even though they prayed before they went on stage, they did the weed thing.
They prayed and then they smoked their weed.
No. They did their weed first, then they prayed.
They did the weed. Oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. That's
actually
even worse.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many of these, like gangster rappers and the whole 9 yards that they would just before their show they would get together with their team, hold hands or huddle together like football huddles, and they would pray. They would pray. People, and then they go on the show and do their show, whether it was profanity laced or whatever their show was. And a lot of them did it. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And see, 8Ball, he talk about pimp hard, but he wasn't a pimp, man.
These guys, you wonder what goes in their mind. I mean, you got to be a real dedicated idiot to spend your life in a studio just to come out to want to go to down and not mind going to jail for the next couple of years and lose millions of dollars. I mean, you got to be a dedicated special idiot for that. I don't understand. I don't know how they can make logic out of it. Yes, we want to hear about your hood and what you went through and all the stuff, blah, 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 blah. But when you're making money, man, you gotta have a change of mindset, man. You can't keep living like you're in a video. That just makes no sense. And these guys wind up killing each other, dying they're dying. Like I've never seen so many rappers die like I've seen lately, 23, 24 years old, just getting killed, and all for their principles, to let everybody know they from the hood and how tough they got to be and all this. Maybe I'm just old school. I just don't get it, and I bodyguarded just like you, Glenn. You've done it extensively. You too, Grandmaster. It's just I guess I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, me either. I appreciate when the people from the music, and I'm talking about the real music, not the rappers. From the music industry, I love the music in the movie, when especially the movie industry. Those were my best times. But
now, who had the worst? Who had the worst entourage? All three of you guys.
Wu-Tang. Although I never bodyguarded anybody from Wu-Tang, I would hazard to say Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang, okay. Well, I mean, for me, I would have to say that this guy named Shine, he had the worst. Because as a young man, he had had his behind on his shoulders also.
Shine,
young man making plenty of money.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Now I say, a young man making plenty of money. He came out of poverty to all of a sudden now, he's making money. So he feared that he was better than anyone else. Even his bodyguards who have to protect him. We sit at a different table. Yeah, he told me, he said, "Can you sit over there?" It's all right. No problem.
Something I've always said about about bodyguarding people, and I got this from actual, actually bodyguarding these guys. A lot of times, there's a bunch of things that lines up against them. Many times they're like a one-parent home. Generally, it's mom. A lot of them have been very low income. So they grow up in rough neighborhoods where the drug dealers are the people that everyone is looking at. And then there's the local stick-up guys or whatever, the crews and stuff. So they start getting some notoriety because they're able to sing and write and rap, and so the tables turn. So now he becomes the boss, this guy, and who is it that he's going to use to as part of his entourage? Sure, he's got his two best friends and that he hung out with that he probably needed to ride the trains with, because the trains are dangerous. So listen, I'm not going on the train alone, and they don't say it out loud, but yeah, hey, listen, I'm going to Coney Island. So the three of them will go together and watch each other's back. So they become part of the entourage, and that's really understandable. Then you got the local drug dealers or the local tough guys, the guys who are able to beat everybody up in the neighborhood as they're growing up together, and these guys become their entourage. So they're also now yes men, because they don't want to stop the money train. Whatever that money train is, they don't want to stop it. So they always yes everything, while the artist is either doing his job as an artist, or even if he's getting high on his downtime or he's meeting some women. You have women throwing themselves at him, people who, never in his life would anyone think that they would throw themselves at these guys, but it happens in droves. And some of these women are looking for that lottery ticket, get me pregnant, get me pregnant. So it's difficult. And even the guys who are part of this entourage, they're getting drunk, they're getting high as well. So to them, it's a party. To guys like us, it's a job. And the job is to protect one person, whoever it is that you're bodyguarding. But of course, if something happens with their guys, even if you say, look, your boys are acting like assholes, I'm not jumping in. I'm not stopping anything. Maybe I'll talk to the cops, but I'm not jumping in. But what happens is you wind up jumping in.
Right.
You can't just, there's 15 guys and I'm, it's happened a dozen times. Even with, I used to bodyguard Petey Pablo. We were in Miami, and it was me, my boy Big E. He's no longer with us. He was one of my closest friends ever. I would have bodyguarded anybody with him. I loved him with all my heart. He was tremendous.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
Yeah,
you told me a few times.
Yeah, and we're there. Fat Joe is in the house. Fat Joe's boys are acting up. No big deal. I love Fat Joe, and he loves me back. His boys are acting up, and Joe is getting ready because the security and Joe's getting ready to jump in. They weren't his security; they were all his boys. He's getting ready to jump in and try and separate everything. And then Petey Pablo's going, well, if Joe's fighting, I'm fighting. I'm like, first of all, chill out. I know Joe 10 years longer. You just met him. I know him 15 years. You don't know him. Why? Because you're both rappers. All of a sudden, you're best friends. That's number one. And number two, I grab Petey and pull him back, and I rush forward and grab Joe and pull him back. Like, let your boys fight. That's what they're doing. Neither of you need to be in this mix. And that's part of the bodyguard job also, is that you have to go in and realize, look, we're not here to fight anybody unless we must.
Right.
That's right.
I agree.